capes and conundrums. "That's it?" Duty asks as she meets with the group that Santiago had brought together. The mayor of the city, several public servants from the head of the hospital board to the chief of police, to several different leaders of hunting guide guilds. "You sound disappointed," Santiago states with a smirk. "Well, I was expecting, I don't know. You thought I was going to try and cram things down people's throats, that I was going to bring my culture, my way of life, and my ideas and inspirations to things, right?" Santiago asks. "Kind of. It's a lesson that many people need to keep learning. There's no way to force a culture. Everywhere on Earth, you just need to dig back a few generations to find someone trying to cram a way of life down another person's throat and just making misery. Something interesting is happening here, and I'd like to help it, to streamline things. I'll use my own culture as an example, but I won't force anything." And what have you been suggesting?" Duty asks as she takes an empty seat. "Can she do that? This council is volunteer. Putting together a culture means all people of it have a say because it's something that everyone is a part of. You can't just dictate a tradition or a saying or a way of life. You have to lead by example. And the more people on the start, the more likely it takes off," Santiago says before running a hand through his hair. "I'm not going to pretend that this is something that will work. For every 100 ideas we have, we'll be lucky to have one of them stick. But the Sonier people are clearly in need of some kind of direction, a way to help mold the generations to come and a way to look at the past as well. Culture and tradition can give both of those, but they don't come out of nowhere." He pulls out his El Rhino mask and holds it up to see. "I will use the lucha for an example. There are spiritual, sport, and practical reasons for all of it. These came from several cultures clashing together and something new shaking out. The freestyle wrestling of Greek and Roman cultures was promoted and pushed by one brave man of Mexico. Then a pair of Italian businessmen saw the money in it and pushed. They used traits and cultural signifiers adapted from the Mayan and other native peoples of Mexico and South America, and mixed it with their own Spanish heritage. It has, through the efforts of its fans and individual lucha such as El Santo, that made it into a cultural touchstone within less than 2 centuries. We've already started something like that with the remodeling of the city and the events you have going on. But there needs to be a way to really bring it home." The mayor states, and there's some thought before Duty groans in frustration. "It's already started. Look at the sheer enthusiasm in which girls are jumping on the events. We need to take them out of undaunted hands and be able to administer them ourselves and—" She pauses and looks towards Santiago, who only chuckles. "Why do you need to do that? We recruit from every race. If you want Skathak-born Sonier to administer the tests, it can happen before the end of the year, and still have it funded by the Undaunted, despite being run by locals for locals. A slight license fee to calm down any of the more anal retentive fools back on the homeworld, and you can spread this to other Sonier cities and worlds. You don't mind that we're potentially planning on taking something from you? How does the Sonier finding a love and appreciation for the Batman mythos take it away from humanity? How am I, or any human for that matter, losing anything because you want to make something your own? The Batman mythos is not a physical object you can pry out from between my fingers. I don't lose anything," Santiago says. "But it could be seen as disrespectful. Honestly, most people that find such things disrespectful were seeking a reason to feel disrespected. In that case, there's nothing you can do to appease them. Even if you do nothing to offend them, they will then decry you as boring and lambast you for having no personality, not realizing that you're just trying to avoid a major pain in the rear. People find what they're looking for one way or another. So if they're looking to be angry, there's nothing you can do to calm them. They will be angry." "Was that directed at me?" Duty asks, and Santiago looks confused. Are you trying to prove yourself an example? Where did this come from?" he asks her, and she makes a move-along gesture with her wing. Never mind, you're right. If you're looking to be offended or even on guard against it, you'll find it. I was actually about to ask about that. It's one of the things that confuses me about the Undaunted. You're very quick to action, but oddly, slow to take offense. Why's that? A major part of our early training involves drill instructors. Individuals there to break down your ego and pride so you learn to work with a group. Learn to be part of a team. They do this by yelling at you, insulting you, giving you absurd, pointless orders, and doling out punishments liberally, but not unfairly. Anyone who gets through basic can easily stoic their way through just about anyone screaming in their face. They don't hit you? That's the one thing they never do. You are never once in any physical danger from the drill instructor. Their job is to make you strong physically and mentally. Physically, by running you through exercises, and mentally, by heaping on verbal abuse until you can let it wash over like ash over stone. They make you do it as a team. They make you do it until you are efficient, capable, and calm in the face of stress and danger. So all of you girls could get right into my face and call me every foul name you can think of, and unless you start using some weird axiom attack or actually touch me, I won't care. You'd need to pay me to care, and even then, it'll be badly acted, Santiago states. But back on target, you girls are interested in running the tests and events yourself, right? We are. If we can find a way to make them more near accessible, then all the better. Duty states. Let's not forget that we have a tourism-based industry. If we can keep them accessible to our guests, it can mean a bump in city revenue, which means better infrastructure, schools, and larger emergency stocks and funds. The mayor counters and Duty has to nod. It's a very good point. It's something we've been bringing up when speaking about the tests ourselves. A clue locked away in a cage you need to solve a puzzle to unlock means nothing to a slob that can enter with most of their body. Examine the clue and memorize it. Races with extra senses like Drin or Earthani can easily get around all sorts of traps and tricks revolving around electricity. The infrared spectrum and heat is an open book to Nagasha. The stronger ears of Usonir mean that all sorts of things are off the table for effectiveness, and anything that works on endurance will need to be cranked up to impossible levels to work on a human, which cuts off the rest of the galaxy. Flying races, smaller races, races borderline immune to thermal harm. If a Tri gets involved, assuming there isn't a panic, there isn't much any axiom-based challenge can do to them. One of the guild heads says, and Duty considers. I'd like to meet a Tri-Eye. A species that bucks the galactic mold is so fascinating, Santiago mutters to himself. Unfortunately, the sheer danger they present is not something most people can ignore. Even if you know for a fact that there's no ill intent, you still have to resist the urge to attack. They mean no harm, but the Tree are a threat that can kill with prolonged contact. The mayor states, and Santiago sighs. A pity. Santiago states. But we veered off again. The Undaunted are guests here, and we'd like to be allies. So how do we help you in building the future you want? How much training are you willing to offer? We're willing to take in anyone that wants to sign up. They get to suggest where they want to be posted, so long as there's no sudden emergency. I see. So Sonir Undaunted would easily be able to run all levels of the tests. They'd be a homegrown girl, or boy, and able to push. Is this all just a massive recruiting effort on every side? Duty demands. Yes, Santiago states. You just admit it? 5,000 active soldiers. That's what we left Cruel Space with. There were support staff, legal departments, but it was far less common to find someone who wasn't combat trained over someone that was. A grand total of 5,514 humans are outside Cruel Space. That's nothing. That is an atom in a molecule, of a piece of a grain of sand in a vast, vast ocean. Get the whole human species in on it, and suddenly we're a grain of sand in a vast, vast ocean. Over a dozen have gone back already, so the number is 5,498. You have more skyscraper-class buildings in this city than there are humans off the homeworld. So yes, there is an enormous, obsessive, and to be frank, maniacal recruiting effort. We need our numbers up. It doesn't matter how skilled or influential one person is. If the odds are 1 billion against 1, it's long odds, Santiago says, and there is silence. Perhaps it's best if I stop talking. I've said too much, Santiago says, rising up. Oh no, by all means keep going. You've not said anything that isn't publicly available. You've only spoken the truth, Admiral Hanala says as he enters the room. I hope you don't mind my eavesdropping. Sir, Calm down, Bernal. You're not in trouble, soldier. Yes, sir. Is this some kind of dramatic setup about recruitment or playing to effects? Let's look at it as happy coincidence that brings up something I wanted to talk about again, which is pushing for recruitment among the locals. From the looks of things, we both have something to offer each other. Recruits from Skathak and skills from the Undaunted. As the soldiers we train won't be, technically, local, they'll be able to be raised in alongside the local guard and troops and not be counted against them. If it really works out between us, then we can rotate between them, recruit from the local guard, and have entire unofficial protections for Skathak and its people. After all, a retired soldier that's just visiting some old working buddies isn't going to arouse suspicion. At least, it will be legally distinct from a standing army or the recruitment of a foreign legion. The mayor begins before considering. Legally and technically that should work. It would even be beneficial. But how would we know that they're not more loyal to the Undaunted than to Skathak? If the Undaunted was a place and not more of a unifying ideal, then that would be a concern. But the Undaunted of Skathak would have Skathak as their home. Think of us less like a foreign army and more like a philosophy or martial style, one with some political backing, Admiral Hanala states. Like a religion? The mayor asks with a bit of a smug look. Perhaps a bad comparison there, but considering that some churches do have standing armies, it's about as close of one as I can get. Admiral Hanala admits as he thinks about. You know, a lot of religions start that way. What's your holy path to salvation? Oh, right. It's self-betterment. It's about being your absolute best and seeing the trouble in life as trials to prove yourself against. My aunt's a hardcore gravid of the temptation orthodoxy. Her path to the best life has led her to nearly 100 children in her 300 years of life, and her family is wealthy and prosperous, the best she can be as a mother and a wife. But she is just a gravid. If a gravid were to be recruited by the Undaunted, she would be a gravid undaunted. Our code is self-mastery in a martial and military manner. That's not something that clashes with other religions, not even with the peaceful ones that preach pacifism, for there's always the need for medics, cooks, and more. Hanala counters. A standing army and religion in one. Oh, goody. So what's it going to be? A cleansing? A great expansion? A holy conquest? It's not a religion, it's a martial philosophy, Hanala states. And religion is philosophy. The mayor bounces back. No, religion uses philosophy, Hanala states. All right. I think we've been on this back and forth long enough. Can we please get back on topic? Santiago states. You want the locals to have more say in the running of the events and the tests, to qualify for them. You want qualified locals, right? We can train them. We can make them undaunted and assign them to those tasks. We get recruits, you get more local influence in the tests and events. Win-win. But how will we know if they're more loyal to the Undaunted or to Skathak? That's up to the individual, isn't it? Duty asks. It's also up to Skathak as a place to draw them closer, to be more appealing than the stars and potential adventure. And there's always someone who prefers the stars and someone who wouldn't take the stars on a platter. We will lose some, we will gain some, the mayor says with a sigh.